farm, to create a wall. Like, those are all going to come true. So, yeah. That is the situation we're going to be living in if Trump does declare the national emergency. And those people, though, those poor people, the chicken farms and whatever else they have no real recourse for action because, hey, it's a national emergency, you guys. We need to take care of this. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, again, a national emergency here is should be in everyone's minds, highlighted in red, worst possible outcome for sure. It's kind of like the no deal in the Brexit scenario that we talked about, I believe, on the on the show last week. All right, now we're going to head from Washington over to Caracas, where the embattled government of Venezuela struck back against its opponents on Thursday, winning strong support from the country's armed forces and the solid backing of Russia, which warned the United States not to intervene. The events put Venezuela's president, Nicolás Maduro, at the center of a Cold War-style showdown between Russia, an ally that has shored up his government with billions of dollars, and the United States, which denounced him as a corrupt autocrat with no legitimacy. All right, yeah, so there's a very much of a difference between supporting a guy who's obviously a dictator, and there's a very, I think there's a fine line between supporting a coup and supporting a dictator. And letting it play out. I think there's a very obvious middle ground there, and I think that's one that a lot of people on the American left should be taking. Will it be ignored, or will it be followed? My guess is that's largely going to be ignored. We're going to probably. I mean, like, there's who the hell knows what could happen? Like, we could have. I saw tweets today that were like, in 10 years, progressives are going to be like, I'm so sorry for supporting the invasion of Venezuela, and saying, I just thought it would be a good idea at the time, like they do with the Iraq War, pretty much. People are saying pretty much it's going to be the next Iraq. Yeah, but still, I retweeted this thread here from Bernie Sanders. I just think really illustrates the truth of what's going on here. The Maduro government has waged a violent crackdown on Venezuelan civil society, violated the Constitution by dissolving the National Assembly last year, and was reelected last year in an election that many observers said was fraudulent. This is Bernie Sanders' tweet. The economy is a disaster, and millions are migrating. The United States should support the rule of law, fair elections, and self-determination for the Venezuelan people. It's some Woodrow Wilson World War I type stuff. Yeah, so, World War I, Woodrow Wilson, Paris peace talks, way back, throwback. Self-determination, great principle. We must condemn the use of violence against unarmed protesters and the suppression of dissent. But, we must learn the lessons of the past and not be in the business of regime change or supporting coups, as we have in Chile, Guatemala, Brazil, and the DR. The U.S. has a long history of inappropriately beating Latin American nations, and we must not go down that road again. Yeah. So that's the situation that we're in right now with Bernie Sanders, kind of illustrating what is the fine line between the fine line between just going all out and saying, this is the best man for the job. We have the Nicolás Maduro. He's a good guy. I don't really think anyone's saying that, but there's a fine line between just supporting Nicolás Maduro and supporting a coup. A lot of people are coming out and saying a coup is good. Civil war even is good. But, I mean, in this situation, like, why do we... I said this morning again on the Wake Up. Why do we have to take a stance on this issue? Like, I don't see how it's going to be a very big issue. Like, what we should really do is let this sort itself out. We should, I mean, it's not like they're major importers of drugs that are just perpetrating our region. I mean, they're not. It's more of a Colombia thing. But they're going through a problem right now. They've had a bad dictator, and we've often seen that instability leads to what else? More dictators to rise. And if we go in there and we create more instability, we could have some of the same cycle happen over and over again. So I think it's very, very important that we stay out of the situation. But do we? I don't know. I don't think so. I really highly doubt it. Knowing the U.S. government, I really, really highly doubt it. So, yeah, supporting this open coup, like as a lot of people are doing, is very scary and not good. And then you can't just go out and turn around and say Nicolas Maduro is a great governor, a great ruler. He's not. He's obviously very, very bad. There's a lot of people in Venezuela facing some awful, awful issues, and a lot of struggle. But that should not like the U.S. Pretty much the point is whatever's happening in Venezuela, the U.S. should stay out of it because we should know. And I think this is going to be. I know I'm speaking very, very wishfully that we should know that the U.S. is. We should know ourselves that we're not very good at this, and we should be for, as Bernie Sanders said, self-determination. That's my thoughts on that. So, yeah, the Trump administration pressed its case on Thursday with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo calling on countries in the hemisphere to reject Maduro and align themselves with democracy, setting up a test of wills with the Kremlin. Because everything in the New York Times has to be covered through a goddamn Russia angle, doesn't it? Literally everything. On a day before Mr. Maduro's political nemesis, the opposition leader Juan Guaido, definitely butchering that name, seemed to have the momentum. During nationwide protests against the government, he proclaimed himself the country's rightful president, earning endorsements from President Trump and several other governments in the region, which is interesting. So, yeah, that guy kind of just declaring himself was a little awkward, but I don't know how much he can do. But on Thursday, it was Maduro's turn to put Guaido on the defense. Thank God it's just televised news conferences we're at. The leader of Venezuela's armed forces declared loyalty to Maduro, and the opposition's effort to replace him amounted to an attempted coup. That's what he said. In a further blow to the opposition, Russia warned the United States against meddling in Venezuela. Vladimir Putin telephoned Maduro and emphasized the destructive external interference is a gross violation of the fundamental norms of international law, according to a statement on the Kremlin's official website. The U.S. ignored the admonitions, trying to rally other countries to reject what Pompeo called Maduro's tyranny. Like, why? It's not in the interests of Americans to get in this. Like, it's only in the interests of people who want to see more chaos in the region. And my guess is, call me crazy, but my guess is there's something in the region of Venezuela that the U.S. government wants, and by propping up this guy, whatever his name is, Juan Guaido, they're going to be able to get very, very easily. How do I know this? Because I've read a history book or two. Like that's I'm not an expert on this whole Venezuela situation. Maybe it's oil, maybe it's something else. Venezuela has it, U.S. wants it, and they're going to figure out a way to get it. So the United States offered $20 million in emergency aid to Guaido's side and requested an emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council on Saturday on the Venezuela crisis. Taken together, the events escalated the confusion and conflict over who is the rightful president of Venezuela, oil-rich. Oh, there we go. A formerly prosperous country upended by political repression, severe economic hardship under Maduro. All right, so there we have it. That solves things up. It's the oil. Oil, New York Times reveals it. They want that oil, baby. And that's something that, I mean, they're not going to come in and just storm and take all the oil. I really don't think they'll be able to get away with that. But you better believe they're getting discounts and not having to rely solely on Saudi Arabia or fracking or whatever it is. Yeah, they're gonna get. That's what it is. That's why all of a sudden we're getting very, very interested in Maduro and what's going on with him, just kind of out of nowhere as this protest happens. Very, very convenient. Yeah, but I'm not saying Maduro is a great guy. I'm not saying that Guaido is a great guy, but I'm saying we should let this. We have no interests here. We have no interests except for powerful people wanting oil. So, final word on that: stay the hell out of it. But will we? No. Yeah, I'm not very hopeful. All right. We turn now back to the 2020 race with Senator Eliszabeth Warren's presidential campaign has rolled out a proposal for the annual tax on wealth, becoming the first major Democratic candidate to follow a recommendation outlined in Thomas Piketty's blockbuster book, Capital in the 21st Century. The proposal, according to two University of California, Berkeley economists who are leading experts on wealth and inequality, would shrink the wealth of the super rich by $2.75 trillion. Wow, over a 10-year period, while only affecting 75,000 U.S. households. So, not a very big amount there. So it's going to squeeze a lot out of a little. It's pretty much what it is. It's a dense population in terms of small amount of people, large amount of wealth. That's going to be incredibly helpful. So a paper distributed by Warren's campaign announcing the proposal notes that in the United States, the United States contains an extreme concentration of wealth not seen by any other leading economy. There we have the top 75,000 households. Bam, very important point there, that are going to get taxed at a much higher rate. The top 0.1% is what it is. They have seen their wealth share triple by nearly triple between the late 1970s and 2016. Warren endorsed the concept of a wealth tax 5 years ago in an interview with Piketty and The Intercept's Ryan Grimm. So that is interesting stuff there. She added that the tax code has to reflect the importance of people who achieve the importance of work and people who achieve and people who accomplish over being born into wealth. Yeah, it should. She's got a point there. People who work hard and people who aren't born with stuff should actually get the first amount of say in our economy. Like, they should be the ones who are highly prioritized over everything else, and I think that is highly logical. So that's it all makes a lot of sense to me. But it's like we have, again, so many. I love the funny thing is, in Davos, all the wealthy billionaires are like just laughing at Ocasio-Cortez's 70% tax. It's like, honestly, I would be surprised if they loved it. Like, that would be even more disturbing to me. But anyway, it's the same idea here. Charting wealth instead of income attacks a much larger source of income inequality. A much larger source of inequality and economic distortion. Concentrated wealth has skyrocketed over the past several decades. So it's a way to kind of target the wealthiest people. Really, really target the wealthiest people instead of just hitting people who happen to make a lot of money. All right, so in many ways, the U.S. Led the world towards the development of progressive taxation and reduction of inequality at the global level during the first half of the 20th century. This is Piketty speaking now. I'm confident that Senator Warren's proposed progressive wealth tax will help curb inequality and ultimately promote growth in the U.S., but it also will have a major impact all around the world. Charting wealth instead of income, again, very, very helpful. Better at really kind of, as I said before, kind of squeezing the most out of the smallest amount of people. Just getting that same amount of money and just taking money away from less people at the same point. An Oxfam study out this week estimates that the world's billionaires grew their fortune by $2.5 billion per day in 2018. Per day. Shout out Matt Bruning of the People's Policy Project. He's estimated that around 30% of annual national income comes from holding income-generated assets like real estate, stocks, and bonds. So that's all things that if you're a random dude, you can't get. You're not in that real estate, stocks, and bonds game. Sorry. This is wealth created by owning wealth, and naturally, nearly all of it's earned by the wealthiest Americans. Increases to income tax, while important to curb income inequality, are mostly irrelevant at capturing capital income or breaking up concentrated wealth. So that's what we really want to do, like breaking up concentrated wealth. I mean, maybe we can do a little bit of an income and wealth tax kind of double whammy, like increase, maybe like whatever we have now, like a 60% tax increase on income and 60% tax on increase. What am I saying? On income and a whatever her idea is, tax on wealth. What was it? 2.75 trillion over a 10-year period. So yeah, it could be interesting. So yeah, the ultramillionaire tax is what it is, as Warren describes it, would impose a 2% annual tax on household net worth on all dollars above $500 million. So even that just gets $2.75 trillion over a 10-year period. Honestly, maybe make it like 5. Initial 1% surtax would kick in above all those above $1 billion in income. Wealth defined as in the plan as all household assets, including residences, closely held businesses, assets held in trust, retirement assets, and assets held by men or children, and personal property with a value of $100,000 or more. So yeah, that's really very interesting. A very interesting concept that I don't think it's kind of new. It's very different from what AOC and those people have been saying. A kind of idea to really kind of target the most wealthy people.